big welcome to the launch of the Forge Ahead podcast and video series. Really excited to be bringing you this. It's sponsored by our good friends at Dougie Stone Radio as well. Very cool bunch of guys and girls. So do tune into their station. So my name is Nick Elston. I'm an inspirational speaker on the lived experience of mental health. And I'm also the founder of Forging People. Forging People is a new breed of people development. So we're bringing you this because I want to showcase the other people that are forging their own way into this world, who have come from a position of adversity to excitement, who are kind of doing wonderful things in that space, but hopefully bringing you some insight and inspiration into how you could apply this to your lives too. I'm not sure what my guest thinks about this, but I'm sure the same mindset of you find in life a lot of the time we're owned by our stories, but actually what we need to do is take control of our own stories and then showcase it to the world to learn that value from. And I'm very, very, very excited to be bringing you to kick it all off. So no pressure at all, Jules. It's Julie Hartell. Big round of applause for Julie Hartell.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your launch one.
I know. How cool is this? So we were just saying, it is exciting, but we were just saying that disarming truth that I use, like the open honesty, we're all a little bit anxious right now. We've not done this before either. So
yeah,
again, we'll bring you in. It's like a group hug, like a fireside chat. This is cool. So now we said that, don't we feel better already?
I do feel better already.
It's good, isn't it? So big welcome to Jules. Jules, tell us about yourself.
So I'm Julie Hartell and I'm the founder of the Mum Almighty. So I'm a mentor, I'm a speaker, and I'm also now an author of a book called The Ultimate Anxiety Breakthrough Bible, which is my guide on how to win more and worry less. And as a mentor, I help women return to their jobs after maternity leave, or whether they've had more than the maternity leave time off, they've had a career break, or if they've had time off to raise children for a long time or look after sick family members. And I help them go back to work with a bit of confidence, actually not a bit, more confidence, loads of bags.
That's the one.
And
you are called the Mum Almighty. The Mum Almighty. That's a big thing to live up to, do you know what I mean?
The one thing that mums carry with them when they're thinking about going back to work is guilt. And it can be guilt about going back to work and leaving the children there, or going back to work and being really excited by the fact that they're going back to work and they're not going to miss the children, which was in my case. And so it's how to get in control of your mindset so that you can go back and focus on the work activities that you need to, but still have your mind ready and prepared for when you get home and put the mum hat on and the wife hat on, or the girlfriend.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And actually what you do in this space is fantastic and it changes a lot of lives. So again, we're very honoured to have you on here. So before I get into the reason why well, there's two reasons why I thought of you first. A, you're kind of awesome, you're a force of nature, and people will get that vibe very, very shortly if they haven't got that already. The second reason is because a lot of the time recently when I've been doing like lives or videos or blogging, that a lot of the kind of questions I get back are from mums or parents in general, saying about actually at the minute we're recording this through the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. So how do we cope with that? How do we manage that during lockdown? So before we get to that, I'm going to ask you just to tell us how you got to where you are today. But definitely that's something that is front of my mind, because the only experience I've got parenting is of a small Shih Tzu. It's got to be as you like. It does, but I'm a bad parent. I would just throw treats at her until she shuts up. So
I wish I could do that.
Person, not the best person to give that advice. So, but before we get to that point, tell us how you got to what you're doing now.
Okay, so to summarise it, I had a flourishing corporate career for a bank. I met my husband there. He was doing the same job as me, and we're both climbing the corporate ladder. We decided to have our first child, and that went really well. Perfect little child called Drew, a little daughter. And I suggested, because apparently it's my fault, that to have a second one, because the first one was so easy. And when we had the second one, Harriet, so we got two girls, she was nothing like Drew. So the whole story about how I brought her up would have been exactly the same had she been the same character, but she was a different character. She didn't sleep. She cried. She wanted me all the time. Me feeding her wasn't enough. She wanted me during the night and during the day. I couldn't put her down. And so my thoughts started racing about how am I going to control what I'm doing and, you know, keep her busy and keep her active, but go back to work and focus on my work when all I'm thinking about is a crying baby at nursery or with a childminder who wouldn't sleep at nursery. So when I eventually went back to work after my second maternity leave, after Harriet, I was already in a bad place. However, I didn't realise how bad it was. I'd gone down this dark mental pathway, basically, and become very angry, went 0 to 60 very quickly. I was angry with my husband. Everything was his fault. Everything that went wrong or didn't go wrong was his fault. I was angry with my work colleagues, my boss. I was angry with the children. And essentially, because Harriet wouldn't sleep, if anybody made a noise in the house, then they felt my fierce tongue. So I'd become this really, you know, my whole identity had changed as soon as I'd had Harriet. And at one point in my life, it is quite a pivotal moment when I actually tried to hand Harriet back to one of the community midwives.
Wow.
Because I didn't feel like I was the right person for her, and I couldn't do what she needed. I couldn't give her what she needed. And I thought it'd be better for her to be with someone else, and didn't tell my husband. And unfortunately, that didn't raise a red flag to the midwives. They didn't reach back out at me and say, right, you need some help. It didn't, and I don't know why. I mean, it's a long time ago, it's 10 years ago now, so maybe things would be different. Eventually, when I was in work and it didn't work at work, I decided to ask to go part-time. And at the time, when you go back to work 10 years ago, you get one of those standard back to work interviews saying, you know, how are you feeling? Is your desk ergonomic? Does your seat fit nicely? And they didn't really ask about how I was mentally. And I don't know if I would have told them, but I probably would have cried. And that would have opened the floodgates of a conversation about how I was feeling and what I needed and what kind of support would really have helped. That didn't happen. So when I asked to go part-time, they, you know, just said no. They considered it, which is the legal requirement, but they said, you're client-facing, you have to be in. So at that point, I made the decision and agreed it with my husband that I couldn't have a career and have children, that it wasn't possible, and that I needed to put the kids first. And now I look back on that, that's a big mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I should have reached out and got help. But I didn't. So I resigned, had a lot of time off trying to recuperate. I had time where Jerry would go off for work and I'd be left with the children and I'd be crying. So my mental state got worse and worse and worse, even though I'd resigned. And eventually I did reach out to the one person that basically saved me, and that was my mum. And she lives in Devon and I live in Bristol, and she came up within a few hours, and she was the one that guided me to go and get help from mental health workers and the doctor's surgery. And that's where the ball started rolling for getting a recovery for me. And so I, with their help and with everyone's help, now it was all out in the open, I felt a lot lighter, I have to say. But I still felt like I needed to have a job that fitted around my children. So I retrained and became a teaching assistant in the school where my children work, thinking that I needed to be with them all the time. But that was me thinking that, and it's actually probably not the best thing I could have done. And working with children, it is lovely. It was very rewarding. But over time, what I found out is that I was getting so healthier, my mindset was getting more positive, that I needed a challenge. I always need a challenge. And I felt like I needed to help people. I felt that this burning desire inside of me to help the people that I was surrounded by in the school. So I was surrounded by other mums who had made the same decision as me to ditch their careers, to find something that was term time, you know, really easy hours, it's great for the kids. And a lot of these women that I were working with, they were women as well, were suffering themselves very, very quietly and silently with anxiety, with depression, things that either they had been diagnosed or not diagnosed, but you could see it. I'd walk into classrooms and there would be teachers and teaching assistants crying because they couldn't handle the workload, because they couldn't handle maybe the family time and their workload. So they were finding that juggling act a real bind, and it's the same experience that I had. And when I opened up about what I'd been through, first of all, they couldn't believe it because they saw me as this smiley, enthusiastic, higger kind of person. They didn't think anything touched me, So I think that broke down a lot of barriers just by me opening up and talking about it and normalizing what they were feeling. And that made a connection. And so over time, we had very informal lunch breaks with these women where we'd all talk as a group, and at break time as well, where we talk together and we just come up with simple strategies just to help them. I wasn't actually thinking that that's what I was doing, but I was just coming up with ideas. Oh, maybe you should try this. How about this? And some of the women that worked there didn't want to work there, and they had other goals, other career goals that they just had to put on pause, and they felt like they didn't have it in them to do it. And I found myself trying to explain to them, you can do it. You don't have to put it on pause. You've got, like, the world is your oyster. You just need a plan. You need a plan and the right mindset. And so I found myself doing that for them. And then it wasn't until my husband said, look, you're helping these ladies. You really ought to do this as a business. This is a great idea. You're the right person, and share your story. And meeting you, Nick, you're the one that helped me put that story into words. And, sometimes I still cry when I tell it, and I didn't then, so that was good.
And what a story.
Yeah, that's the story.
Seriously, I mean, I always say that when we practice vulnerability as a daily kind of practice, we become bulletproof, because actually no one's got anything on us. We don't have to pretend to be anything. And you kind of like really do that so well.
I see.
So you've always had that. Is that kind of thing where I say, like, we have all the answers, we just don't ask ourselves the right questions?
Absolutely right.
And like you were saying, you saw that in other people.
Yeah.
And I think it's testament to kind of you to actually, that rather than shy from that, you stepped up to help people. And actually, I know that's your driver.
Yeah, it is. It hits me right in the heart when I can do that, and I can see the difference in people. And even if they just share their story, and how emotional they get telling their story, and how much lighter they feel having connected with me and telling their story, is the first step. And it's just, I love being on that journey with clients.
The truth is absolutely liberating, isn't it? And like I said, we were one of those things where we either own our stories or they own us. And when we start to reframe our journey from a third party perspective, from an audience perspective, you suddenly see the value you can bring people, as opposed to all that crap that's held us back in the meantime.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it kind of all makes sense. It's all kind of worthwhile. I love that. And thank you for being so candid and honest as well.
That's okay.
And just to prove this is real, just to prove this is genuine, and we're not going to dress this up as a fireside chat, Tula's barking to go out. Right now, we're getting deep and meaningful, and here is the dog trying to get out. So bear with a second. We're keeping it real here. This is Tula.
Oh, no, I should have got mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Puppy love.
Next time you're on. On. So yeah, you're gonna be good now. No, she's not going to be good. I'm going to let her out. So, brilliant. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
See, I could easily edit this, but how can we deliver authenticity if we start editing stuff? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really
So going back to that point I made about, so parents that I know are really, really struggling right now on lockdown, maybe 2 young kids to look after, whilst trying to get the shopping, whilst trying to get their own sanity time, whilst trying to do every single thing else.
Yeah. What
would you suggest? What are your tips and kind of insights into how you can not so much manage that, but maybe survive that is probably an easier method?
Do you mean in the current situation, or
right now? In the current situation, I would suggest, because this is going to go out during this time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. My biggest tip is something I've been sharing with a lot of people in networking and in with my clients, is to schedule the worry time. So women, mums,
Love
like to
that.
worry all the time. So we worry as we're walking up the stairs. I know this sounds really weird to you because you're a man, but we worry about things as we're walking up the stairs because there's still stuff on the stairs. So we worry about why that hasn't gone up. We get angry about it as well, but we worry about it. And then we worry about, right, what did I come up for? I've got to take the washing down. There's always this mental whirring to-do list going round and round and round. You're ticking it off, but you add things to the bottom. And, you know, in that, you're worrying about what we're supposed to be doing at the same time with lockdown. You're worrying about keeping everyone fit and healthy and fed and active. And you're trying to be attentive to your children who, you know, have got homework to do from school virtually, but they might have done it, which mine have already. They like to get it done really quick, so they've got the rest of the day to do what they want. But that means I then have to worry that I need to keep their attention doing something else. So don't carry that worry with you all day. So make a plan. So have a plan, have a little short list, and schedule that worry time, because you don't need to worry about things that are left on the stairs. If you put it in a logical mindset, you don't need to worry about it. It's, you know, it's not going to kill anyone. And those are the things that I suppose the hardest things for women to do. And I shouldn't discount you, that is having access to thinking about worrying. And does your worry need that much brain power? Is there any evidence to support what you're worrying about? And if there isn't, discard it, get rid of it.
And we do that. I think a lot of work I've been doing at the minute in terms of like COVID-19 kind of management skills and techniques. The commando version is actually the assumption is top of the list. We assume negative outcomes because we're hardwired to look for danger. But also, like you said, my radar does not switch on to stuff on the stairs. You're quite right. So you may have thought it was a generalism, but it's actually, you're quite right. I will literally, but it's funny, but I'll notice things that Claire doesn't, for example. So yeah, it is interesting actually how that works, and actually with difference. So that's a really good way of kind of helping people. I guess logistically it's quite difficult. I guess a lot revolves around your support network as well, because I know one of the mums I was talking to is a single parent of two 2 to 4 year olds kind of thing. That could be a real challenge logistically in terms of things like shopping, especially right now. It's difficult. So that's a really great tip.
Sorry, I was sorry to interject. Then
this is a conversation. Like I said, this is never going to be a polished podcast or video show. This will be just chatting. So.
I received a message this morning from a friend who is not single, but she's got a boyfriend, but the boyfriend can't live with her during lockdown, and she's got 4 children. So she's got 4 children. She actually works from home anyway. She's a writer, and she is struggling with finding the time to write, but also give the attention to each of her 4 children, who are all different ages and all need different things at different times of the day. And she messaged me saying, I just don't know how I'm going to get one blog post done. I'm not finding the time. I'm working till 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's so much homework that's been given to her. And my advice was that she just needs to do, and the children need to do, as much as they can do. And even though the schools are giving out all this, you know, homework to do, and as much as I know heads have to seem to be, you know, doing as much as they can, they're also saying that we're not teachers. Parents, whether you're single or you're married or you're co-living, whatever, you are not teachers. You can only do what you can do. So don't get into overwhelm. As soon as you feel that overwhelm, put your tools down, put everything down, and just take a break. And if you've got time to finish it later, great, do it later, but don't do everything. And I think that they're just happy that we're trying to do it, showing that we're trying to do it, doing the right actions, and have the right mindset about doing it. So we're putting, you know, everything into it when we do it, but not to make us feel that we're too busy all the time. That's not what they want. They just want to make sure that our children are not bored. So they give us so much to do.
I think that's it. Everyone's kind of got their own angles, their own kind of challenges. And I have seen, I must admit, I have seen, because I encourage people, as I do myself, to try and use this time to try and do something different, something better, like invest in yourself, that kind of stuff. But also, I'm very, very quick to say, like, if you need to rest and recharge, just switch off. There seems to be quite a lot of shaming people, to one of the better word,
Yes.
that right now, that if they're not doing something, that it's useless, or they're just wasting their time. If you need to do nothing right now, do nothing right now. That's not a problem. I guess that the space that we try and fill are that if people are wanting to use their time to develop or to do things differently, then now we've got a perfect opportunity. But there's no shame in doing whatever you want, whatever gets you through, kind of thing.
Yeah, you just do what you need to do. You know, everyone's different, everyone's unique. And also, I suppose, looking at social media platforms doesn't really help, because you get a perfectionism view of what's going on in other people's lives. You know,
massively.
and it might not be as perfect as that behind this. You know, no one puts a video of themselves arguing with their husband about what shopping he forgot. So
exactly. So it's kind of like we compare our spun version of the truth against somebody else's spun version of the truth. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? Is we kind of do that thing. But also I think in terms of immersion generally, that with things like, because we've got constant updates, that the kind of the coronavirus COVID-19 news are basically, I don't access that at all during the day. I listen to the government updates once a night, because really that's all that matters. The rest is speculation.
I totally agree.
Otherwise, you just get into that trap of just reviewing stuff after stuff, which is pretty much speculation.
And exactly,
Donald Trump has made that day.
And you get a lot of people resharing stuff on WhatsApp groups, and or share this, pass it on. I just ignore it. Just ignore it. You can't take it all in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's next for you? What are you up to nowadays?
Oh, it's exciting times. I am in the throes of completing a 8-day online challenge. It's like a workshop. It's called Embrace Failure and Kickstart Your Career, because a lot of things stop us from following our career goals, and failure is a massive one. So rather than shoving it under the carpet, what can we do to accept it and use it to fuel and reignite our goals forward?
That is a fantastic space. It is a fantastic space, and I think especially kind of post-zombie apocalypse, when we all kind of get let back out again, I think that's a big boom area, is that space that you're in. Also, that it ties in nicely with the new networking group that you've launched, the Career Steer Squad. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Thanks.
So tell us when that happens. Weekly, isn't it? So tell us when that is, what time it is.
So 4N have now gone online, which is amazing. They've moved with the times, they've looked at the current situation, and they've adjusted, which is great. So they now do weekly online sessions, and they asked me to set up my own group, which is lovely. So mine's called the 4N Southwest Career Steer Squad. And
say that after a few Prosecco's.
It's aimed at helping not just women, but any individual who might be furloughed, might be unemployed, might have a job that they're going back to, or might be on maternity leave, or might be just about to have a baby, or they're going back to the working world and they're not feeling like they've got that confidence, or they're having self-doubts, they're having anxious thoughts. And the Career Steer Squad is made up of those individuals, as well as business owners, entrepreneurs, sales gurus, people that are there to help and give free value and guidance to help them through. There's a lot of people there that can help with mindset gremlins as well. And it's not just a sales group. So it's not like you're going to be sold to. There are people there, and it's, just for £5, you can go there and do this all online like this with Zoom, and meet these people, go into a breakout room with one of these professionals and get some real value from someone who might be able to help you move forward with your career. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
And that's on Thursdays. I didn't say.
On Thursdays. Yeah. At what time?
Midday to 1:30.
Brilliant. So that will be going on even after this is all finished. That's going to be carrying on.
Oh yeah, this has been going on. This will be going on. But this week we've got the 4N founder as well, Brad Burton. So I don't know when you're going to put this out, but on Thursday the 23rd that will be. So that might have happened by the time this goes out.
Okay, well, you never know. If not, tune in. Depends. I don't know. We're all making this up as we go along. We're creating a new reality. I haven't got a clue how long it takes to turn around this kind of stuff.
Might be Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows? Let's see what happens. It's fun finding out, though, isn't it? You did touch on two really interesting points, and it's something I've been focusing on a lot this week through my video content, is self-belief and confidence, and the effect that the process of furloughing has had on people, because it's important to stress that the process of furlough is aimed to safeguard the employee and the employer and the economy. Actually, it's not a personal swipe. It's not the intention to make sure that you feel like you're not a valued member of the team or even as a human, but not to let that have an impact on your self-belief and confidence. A lot of people are taking it that way, though.
Yeah, they are. My husband's just been furloughed a couple of weeks ago. And he battled with the thought that he knew that his job was related to building risk. So he thought he needed to still be working and protecting the public from parts of buildings that might be falling down. So he was trying to stress to them, like, you don't want to furlough me, you don't want to be doing this. And it wasn't because of the financial loss that we would endure. It was more about protecting the people. But, you know, the hands are tied. So, yeah. So he's had to be daddy now.
I think actually the furlough process means that we can use the space either to develop or rest and recharge and go again. We're primed, ready to come back into employment whenever that may be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So, and she's doing it again. So I'm not going to cut this because I need people to know what I put up with. This dog keeps barking all the time.
I wish my children came in just to annoy you as well, but mine are well behaved.
I wish they didn't, to be fair. That's my personal life choice, but there we go. So most importantly, Jules, where can people find you?
They can find me on at my website, which is www.themummalmighty.com. They can also what else can they do? They can, I'm just trying to think, I've got so
send
many
a pigeon.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah.
They can find me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, cool. The Mum Almighty, the Mum Almighty Mentor. I'm on LinkedIn under Julie Hartell, and I'm on Instagram, but I'm not very good at Instagram. I'm only on it because my children like going on it.
Okay.
But yes, so you can type my name into Google and it will come up. So Julie Hartell, you'll find me.
Awesome. And your parting wisdom to the viewers / listeners?
Don't put something off for another few months just because you want to see what's going to happen in the world. Use this time as a golden opportunity to write down some micro steps to get from where you are now to that goal that you want over there.
Boom.
Use the time.
What a line to finish on. Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Hartell.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been
brilliant.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for being on. And thank you for joining the launch of the Forge Ahead podcast and video series.
Thank you. It's been a true honour.
Bless you. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's watching this, listening to this. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be hoping to run these weekly. So I've got some amazing guests lined up to bring you, all with the theme of inspiring you to think a little bit differently. From adversity to excitement, the emotional storytelling element, just a real depth to that kind of human element that I like to really persevere with. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.